I want to talk for a minute about housing. I have said a few times at this press event, these press conferences, that I would be back with some more solutions around helping people who are struggling with their housing. I would say, as I have said so many times, the public health crisis of COVID has led to an economic crisis. And we know that. Unemployment is at historic highs. People are out of work. Anybody who went into the COVID crisis housing insecure, with low income, unemployed, is really struggling now. Thankfully, we haven't seen a massive spike in evictions. We haven't, we're in touch constantly with the courts. At this point, we know there's a great deal of suffering and struggling tenants, but we haven't yet seen a massive spike in evictions. I am worried, though, that as the $600 benefit from the federal government ends in the end of July, and as the economic crisis drags on, that this is a problem that's going to get worse before it gets better. And I am also so deeply sympathetic to people who are struggling to meet their most basic needs: food, shelter, gas in the car. So to that end, I would like to share with you a new initiative that I'm rolling out now and that will get started next week to help people avoid eviction. As I mentioned a week or two ago, we've been working with the United Way and the Rhode Island judiciary to address the eviction problem as courts have moved back into operations. Obviously, we haven't seen a lot of evictions because the courts were closed for a long time. So today I'm very pleased to announce that in that coordination with the Rhode Island District Court, which is the court that handles evictions, and the United Way, next week we will be launching an eviction diversion effort that we're calling the Safe Harbor Housing Program. And it is my hope that this initiative will serve as an alternative to a traditional eviction process, and it will provide landlords and tenants an opportunity to work towards a solution outside of the court system to avoid evictions. We'll be directing $7 million of our CARES Act funding to this effort, and we expect that $7 million will be able to support at least 1,000 folks, probably closer to 1,500 or 2,000 Rhode Islanders, so that they can maintain stable housing. And once again, I want to thank Rhode Island's federal delegation for working so hard to secure the CARES Act funding, especially Senator Reid, who's been a vocal, decades-long advocate for affordable housing. It's because of that we're able to put forth this new $7 million eviction diversion initiative. So let me explain how it will work. Renters, so there's an application process, and that's going to start next week. Renters who meet income criteria, so you have to have an income below a certain threshold, and are behind on their rent because of COVID-19, maybe you lost your job because of COVID, or you're out of work temporarily because of COVID, you can qualify for assistance. Tenants can apply directly, or landlords can apply on behalf of tenants who need help paying the rent. So let me be clear, this is for folks who are in arrears. Their rent is past due. Their rent is past due. They've either received an eviction notice, they've been on notice that they're going to be evicted, the process has already started. It's for folks who are in danger of being evicted because they've lost income on account of COVID. Starting Monday, if you're in that category, you can contact the United Way and ask about the Safe Harbor program and go ahead and apply for an application. Easiest way is to call 211. Call 211 United Way and ask about the Safe Harbor program. Or if you can't remember the name of that, I have trouble remembering the names of all of these new initiatives, just say, I'm about to get evicted, I need help, can you help me work on a payment plan with my landlord, and we'll get you into this program. Both parties have to agree to participate. No one's going to be forced to do this. So the tenant has to agree and the landlord has to agree. If both parties agree, they'll be contacted by a United Way housing specialist to finalize a payment agreement. And then the payment agreement, will be supported by the $7 million of the federal money, will help you pay a rent for a period of time. Tenants who are in need of legal advice will be able to access free legal services. So I suspect most landlords will be represented by a lawyer, and we want to make sure every tenant also has the opportunity to be represented by a lawyer for free. To be clear, again, you can apply to participate before you receive an eviction notice. If you think you're on the verge of being evicted because you know you're not going to be able to catch up on the rent that you already owe. The whole point of this is we want to resolve these issues before an eviction. That's why it's eviction diversion. We want to see if we can get the parties to the table to come up with some kind of a mediated settlement, put the tenant on a, multi-month payment plan. It's good for the landlord because it keeps the tenant there and they continue to pay rent. And obviously it's good for the tenant because we don't want anybody to be homeless or evicted during this time of need. So I hope that this is, and we'll see how it goes. I want to say this. It is obvious that $7 million, although it may keep 1,000 or 2,000 families in their homes, is not going to solve the whole problem. I know that, and I'm not pretending that it will. But I also know that there's families struggling right now, and we got to help them. We have to help them right now to not be evicted. No one should have to live homeless ever. No one should be homeless ever, but particularly now, we want to be there. So this is an immediate action step to prevent eviction, to make sure folks stay in their home. As I said earlier, I expect that when the $600 goes away, as this unemployment situation drags on, as the courts are open for evictions, we're going to get a better picture of how big the housing problem is, and we're going to come back and we're going to continue to address it. But this is meant to immediately provide relief to our most vulnerable families and be there for them so they don't wind up homeless. I will also say a permanent solution is almost certainly going to require legislation. I have been asked a few times, to do an executive order stopping evictions. Apart from the fact that I'm not sure I can do that, this is a long-term issue. Providing enough sustainable, affordable housing, we need a proper long-term solution, and I look forward to working with the legislature to do that. And with the district court. District court, by the way, I have to say thank you to the court and thank you to the United Way. Both have been fantastic partners. This is hard to do. This is a unique program. It's hard to do. We're trying to be creative. So hats off to the court and to the United Way. As we go forward, I would love to see a more permanent diversion program, mediation program at the district court to continue something like this forever. And as I've said many times, I implore the General Assembly to pass a law prohibiting discrimination based on source of income. It's wrong. If people have an ability to pay the rent, they shouldn't be discriminated against based upon where that money comes from, even if that money is a voucher from the federal government. So I'm happy to answer questions, but I'm very pleased to say starting Monday that'll be up and running. Call the United Way.